to them. Mr. Stowe? Hello, Mr. Stowe?
Yes.
Yes. Can you please introduce yourself?
Oh, yeah, 네. Matthew Stone touching Taba Hebashin. Kizachini Dashanala Ishin Dashay. And I currently I'm assisting the committee on the presentation regarding the public hearings.
Thank you, sir. Is there any delegates on the line? Okay. Well, thank you so much for participating in the public hearing via Zoom. We'll go on to the second portion, which is the purpose of the public hearings. The purpose of the hearing is primarily for purposes of getting input and comments on Plan 6. The court has approved the plan, but is requiring more input and comment from the public. Plan 6. The summary is that Plan 6 of the 5 has 5 agencies listed: Central, Eastern, Fort Defiance, Northern, and Western agencies. The plan shows the list of schools in each of the agencies, and that is going to be provided by Mr. So, and it shows 2 columns, the left-hand side that will show the list of the schools, and on the right-hand side will be the chapters represented. Most school boards represent more than one chapter, except the schools in the satellite chapters. There are single and at-large positions in each of the agencies. If you're following along on the Zoom, you will be able to see the screen that's being shared by Mr. So in regards to the information that I am now telling you about, with the form that has the left-hand column and then the right-hand column. And if you are not, but would like to see what I'm referring to, there is the HES resolution, HEHSCAP 05-20, that can be found on the OLS DIBS website, and that plan is listed as Exhibit A, and that is the same information that is being shown on the screen. Going back to the plan summary, A, central agency, there will be 2 school boards, each representing more than one school. Each board will consist of 5 members, and there will be a total of 10 school board members in the agency. B, Eastern agency, there will be 6 school boards, 3 representing more than one school and more than one chapter, and the other 3 will be the school and the satellite communities, each with their own school board chapter based. Each board will consist of 5 members with a total of 30 school board members in the agency. C, Fort Defiance. There will be 2 school boards, each representing more than one school and more than one chapter. Each board will consist of 5 members, totaling 10 members in the agency. D, Northern agency. There will be 3 school boards, 2 representing more than one school, each with 5 members. Navajo Prep will have its own school board with 4 members, and that is at large by agency. Each of the 3 school boards will represent more than one chapter. All positions are at large except Shiprock chapter, which will have 2 members. There will be a total of 14 school board members in the Northern agency. Western agency, there will be 3 school boards, 2 representing more than one school, each with 5 members. Richfield Residential Hall will have its own board with 4 members. All positions and agencies will be elected at large from assigned chapters. 2, what is the school board apportionment plan? A school board apportionment plan determines the number of positions on a school board. The plan takes into account the number of school children and chapters to be represented. Here are the 2 provisions from the election code regarding this. The apportionment plan shall be based at a minimum on the number of students attending from one or more chapters. Each local community school board shall provide to the Health, Education, and Human Services Committee and the Division of Net Education current and accurate information regarding the number of students attending the local community school for use in the development of the apportionment plan by October 2003 and every 4 years thereafter. Navajo Nation Code 11 NNC subsection 11D. HES shall apportion the number of school board seats among the chapter or chapters represented in each of the local community school board. This apportionment shall establish election precincts for each local community school board containing approximately equal numbers of students attending the local community school at the time of apportionment. Navajo Nation Code 11 NNC subsection 11B, cited in part. 3, what types of schools are covered under apportionment plans for schools under the election code? Generally, those funded or operated by the Bureau of Indian Affairs, Bureau of Indian Education. Here's what the election code says. Local community school board. Members of a local community school board who are elected pursuant to the Navajo Nation election code. Local community school board members include those members elected to the governing boards of schools operated or funded by the Bureau of Indian Affairs, BIE, for the education of Navajo children within the Navajo Nation, but does not include members of the school boards for private, parochial, or state public schools. Navajo Nation Code 11 NNC subsection 1X. Number 4, when and how often is the school board apportionment plan adopted? The election code requires that school board apportionment plans be adopted every 4 years. Here is the law from the election code. On or before the first Monday of November 2003 and every 4 years thereafter, the Health, Education, and Human Services Committee of the Navajo Nation Council shall set the size of each local school board and shall apportion the number of school board seats among the chapter or chapters represented in each local community school board. This apportionment shall establish election precincts for each local community school board containing approximately equal numbers of students attending the local community school at the time of the apportionment. Navajo Nation Code 11 NNC subsection 11B, cited in part. 5, what does consultation mean for purposes of developing and adopting a school board apportionment plan? In the development of a school board apportionment plan, there is a requirement of consultation. Essentially, the election code defines consultation as follows. Consultations: notice of the proposed school board apportionment plan and an opportunity to comment on the proposed apportionment plan. The consultation period, 60 days. There is a consultation period that runs for at least 60 days. During this time, public input is provided for, as well as hearings and opportunity to submit written comments. Public input. There must be opportunity for input provided to the Navajo Board of Election Supervisors, parents, local school boards, chapters, school board organizations, such as agency school boards and the Navajo Division of Education. This input can be either in writing or through oral testimony. Hearings. Although hearings are not required, the Health, Education, and Human Services Committee can hold hearings at the schools, chapters, communities, or agencies affected by the proposed reapportionment plan. If hearings are held, there can be reasonable restrictions imposed at these hearings, such as length of time for testimony. Written comments. Written comments can be provided by those that are interested in submitting them. 6, how many members can make up a school board? The answer is that there are 3 to 7 members that can make up the school board. Here's what the election code says. A local community school board shall consist of not less than 3 nor more than 7 members based upon the current adopted apportionment plan. Navajo Nation Code 11 NNC subsection 11A. 7, who must approve the school board apportionment plan? Under the Navajo Nation Election Code, the Health, Education, and Human Services Committee of the Navajo Nation Council approves the final school board apportionment plan. That is Navajo Nation Code 11 NNC subsection 11B. 8, what happens after Health, Education, and Human Services Committee approves and adopts a school board apportionment plan? It is then submitted to the Navajo Board of Education, election supervisors for use in the elections. This is Navajo Nation Code 11 NNC subsection 11E. That is the purpose of the public hearings. I will go ahead and turn over the presentation to Mr. So to go over the apportionment plan. Mr. So?
Okay, thank you very much. Again, this is the plan 6 was adopted through the council resolution. This is the purpose of the public hearing. So the first agency that's listed is called Central Navajo Agency. There are 2 school boards, both comprise 5 board members. The first school board is called Central Navajo Schools, K-12, with a 5-member board. That school board will be overseeing the following schools: Rocky Ridge Boarding School, Cottonwood Day School, Many Farms High School. The school board seats are as follows. 1 school board member will be representing Chinle chapter. 2 board members are coming out of Many Farms chapter. Then 1 at-large seat with Rough Rock, Setchisha chapters. And the last seat is 1 at-large Ateche, Blue Gap, Whippoorwill, Sethlana, Cottonwood chapters. The next school board is called Chinle Navajo Schools K-12. It's a 5-member board with the following schools: Black Mesa Community School, Rough Rock Community School, Nazlini Community School, Lukachukai Community School, Pinyon Community School, and Many Farms Community School. It's a 5-member board with the following school board seats: 1 at-large representing Lukachukai, Staley, Wheatfields, Round Rock chapters. The next seat is 1 at-large representing Setchisha, Rough Rock, Many Farms chapters. The 3rd seat is a board member representing Chinle chapter. The 4th board seat is an at-large position representing Hard Rock, Pinyon, and Black Mesa chapters. And the 5th seat in that board is 1 at-large representing Whippoorwill, Teche, Blue Gap, Nazlini, and Sethlana Cottonwood chapters. The total number of school boards, as presented earlier, is 10 board members. The next agency is Eastern Navajo Agency, which was mentioned before, has a total of 6 school board seats, or 6 school boards. And the first board that's listed is called Shushpatwil K-12, and it's going to be proposed as a 5-member board with the following schools: Bread Springs Day School, Chichika Jones Ranch Community School, and Wingate K-12 School. And the school board seat are as follows: 1 at-large representing Chichika, Bahale, Tsetlichi, Menilito, and Seyatua chapters. 1 school board seat, or 1 school board member will represent Church Rock chapter. The next seat is a board member representing Ayambato chapter. The next seat is an at-large seat representing Pinedale, Mariana Lake chapters. And the last seat in that school board is 1 at-large board member representing Theru, Baca Prewitt, Smith Lake chapters. The next school board is listed is called Eastowza Crown Point Schools, and that's a 5-member school board with the following schools: Baca Goa Yesha Community School, Lake Valley Navajo School, Te'aha Community School, Mariana Lake Community School, Debe Yesha Hapatin, Brega Pass School, Ojo Encino Day School, Pueblo Pintado Community School, Eastowza Betwafta Community School. It's a 5-member board with the following school board seats: 1 board member representing Baca Prewitt chapter, 1 board member being an at-large representing Pinedale, Mariana Lake, Smith Lake, and Theru chapters. And the 3rd seat is an at-large seat representing Te'ahe, Nahod, Gish, Lake Valley, White Rock, and Crown Point chapters. The next is a school board seat at-large representing Councilor Ojo Encino, Pueblo Pintado chapters. And the fifth seat is an at-large board position representing Vicente, Little Water, Casimiro Lake, Whitehorse Lake chapters. The next school board that is listed is called Eastern Navajo Schools with a 5-member board with the following schools: Not Lejeune or Torian Day School, Zethna Dithi Community School, and Hanagla Community School Dormitory. It's a 5-member board with the following board seats as listed: 2 board members representing Torian chapter, 2 board members representing Huerfano chapter, and 1 board member representing Naizi chapter. The next school board is Alamo Navajo School Board. It's proposed to have a 5-member school board with all 5 board members coming out of Alamo chapter. The 5th school board that's listed is Raymond Navajo School Board or Pine Hill School, 5-member board with 5 school members all coming out of Raymond Navajo chapter. And the last school board is Tohajila Community School, and it's proposed to have a 5-member school board with all 5 board members coming out of Tohajila chapters for a total of 31 board members representing Eastern Navajo Agency. The next agency that's listed under Plan 6 is Fort Defiance Agency with 2 school boards. The first school board is called Sehotoi 1 Fort Defiance Schools. It's a 5-member board with the following schools: Pine Springs Day School, Seba Delkai Boarding School, Jetes Elementary School, and Crystal Boarding School. It's a 5-member board with the following school board seats: 1 at-large representing Red Lake Crystal chapters, 1 board member representing Whippoorwill chapter, 1 board member representing Low Mountain chapter, 1 board member representing Tisto chapter, and the last one is an at-large seat representing Lupton, Hawk, Nahatad Seal chapters. The next school board that's listed is called Sehotoi 2 Fort Defiance Schools. It's a 5-member board with the following schools. 1 is a Hunters Point Boarding School, Wide Ruins Community School, Kendatachi Wachka, Dilcon Community School, Greasewood Springs Community School, Chushkoy Community School, Tiselken Residential Hall, and Winslow Residential Hall. It's a 5-member board with the following board seats: 1 at-large at Nash Chitty, Tohatchi, Coyote Canyon, Bahas Kla, and Mexican Spring chapters. The next is an at-large seat representing Fort Defiance St. Michael's chapters. The 3rd board member is representing Oak Springs, Hawk, Lupton, Nahat Adzil, and Wide Ruins chapters. The 4th seat that's listed is an at-large board position representing Steamboat, Kendatachi or Kintachi, Ganado, Clagato, Cornfields, and Wide Ruins chapters. And the 5th seat that is listed is an at-large board seat representing Greasewood Springs, Whitecone, Dilcon, Jedito, and Tisto chapters. The total number of school board seats for Fort Defiance Agency is listed as 10. The next school board listing that's listed is for Northern Navajo Agency with 3 school boards. The first school board that's listed is Northern Navajo Schools. It's a 5-member board with the following schools: Cove Day School, Sanosti Day School, Bacabado Day School, Tohale Community School, Aneth Community School, East Bus Community School, Ninahanza Community School, and Red Rock Day School. It's a 5-member school board with the following school board seats: 1 at-large board member representing Aneth, Red Mesa, Tuatlacan, and Mexican Water chapters. The 2nd school board seat is it's an at-large position representing Tisnas Pas, Bacabado, Gadiahat Tokoe, and Seragan chapters. The next is an at-large seat representing Cove, Red Valley chapters. The next school board seat is an at-large position representing Settlenast, Tilbury Hills, Toilina, Newcomb chapters. And the last school board seat is an at-large position representing Shiprock, Ninahanzat, Upper Fruitland, and San Juan chapters. The next school board that is listed is called Natanina Schools K-12. It's a 5-member school board with the following schools: Shiprock Associated Schools, Kintkale Residential Campus, Sensades Ahet Denepo of Rock Point Community School. It's a 5-member school board with the following school board seats: 2 school board members representing Shiprock chapter, 1 at-large board member representing both Rock Point and Ranrock chapters. The next school board seat is an at-large position representing Gadiahet, Tokoe, Seragan chapters. And the last school board seat is an at-large position representing Selnast, Tilbury Hills, Toilina, and Newcomb chapters. And the last school board that's listed for Northern Agency is Navajo Preparatory School. It's a 4-member school board with the following seats: 1 at-large representing Northern Navajo Agency, 1 at-large representing Eastern Navajo Agency, 1 at-large representing Fort Defiance Agency, and the 4th position is an at-large position representing the Chinle Navajo Agency and Western Navajo Agency. The total number of school boards in Northern Agency is 14. The last one is Western Navajo Agency with 3 school boards total. The first school board is called Tuananasdiza Tubity City Schools 1 K-12. It's a 5-member school board with the following schools: Denahotso Boarding School, Tonalia Day School, Kaibito Boarding School, Kayenta Community School, and Tuba City Boarding School. The school board seats are as listed. 2 school board members are at-large representing Tonalia and Tuananasdiza chapters. There's also an at-large school board seat representing Sabikin Inscription House Kaibito chapters. The next school board seat is an at-large position representing Badaway Gap, Coal Mine, and Cameron chapters. And the last seat in that school board is 1 at-large representing Kayenta, Oljeto, Denahotso, and Chichimbido chapters. The next school board that's listed is called Tuananasdiza Tuba City Schools 2 K-12. It's a 5-member school board that is going to oversee the following schools: Little Singer Community School, Northeast On Community School, Chichimbido Community School, Kintlana Bordertown Dormitory, Loop Schools Incorporated, Gray Hills Academy High School, and Shanto Preparatory School. It's a 5-member school board with the following school board seats: 2 at-large representing Tonalia, Tuananasdiza chapters, 1 at-large with Sabikin Inscription House, Kaibito, Shanto chapters. The next school board seat is an at-large position representing Kayenta, Oljeto, Denahotso, Chichimcho, and Northeast On chapters. And the last school board seat is an at-large position representing Loop, City Toa, or Bird Springs, and Toalani Lake chapters. And the last school board that is listed is Richfield Residential Hall with a 4-member school board. The 4 board members are coming from the following school board seats are as listed. The first position is an at-large seat representing Tuananasdiza, Badaway Gap chapters. The next school board seat is an at-large seat representing Denahotso, Kanta chapters. The third seat is an at-large position representing Oljeto, Rough Rock chapters. And the last seat is an at-large position representing Tlachi, Kaibito, Natis On, Shanto chapters. And the total number of school boards reflected in the apportionment plan is 14. So that concludes the apportionment plan presentation as presented.
Thank you, Mr. So. I appreciate that. We also do have more individuals that are participating in the Zoom call. And as a courtesy, please mute your phones to deter background noises. We do have some delegates that are on the line, and I would like to turn over the floor to Mr. Delegate Carl Slater.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me? Okay, it sounds
Yes.
like I'm coming through. Okay, well, I wanted to provide some background behind the logic on why the committee is elected to investigate Plan 6 and what some of the rationale are for this concept. And I did not do this at yesterday's meeting, and based off the feedback that I just heard at the tail end of this presentation at Shinle today, I want to provide some of this information. So I'm going to try and walk outside. Maybe the echo will go away. So presently, we have a lack of educational attainment across the Navajo Nation BIE-funded schools. I'm saying funding that comes from the Bureau of Indian Education to either the 100-297 or 1-638 school and the direct administration BIE schools. The quality educational outcomes of our students across the board has not been improving, and in many cases, or most cases, is declining. And we need to do something drastic in order to get better educational outcomes for our children. Now, that's one aspect of this, but there's also a separate aspect of governance, financial controls, personnel controls, and the like. Unfortunately, school boards have been the locuses of embezzlement, of nepotism, and other unfortunate things. And a part of that is that we have, I think, 4 or 5 member boards. Oftentimes there'll be vacancies, and you can get, to be frank, we know that you can get elected onto a school board with just, your family or a couple families' support. And then all of a sudden they're controlling or running a school, and there isn't the adequate process for hiring or financial controls that need to take place for these schools to be operating in the best way that they can. So if you have a consolidated school board, it means that individuals will have to be responsive to multiple communities and constituencies. And with that, they could not just rely on one particular family or constituency to get elected and maintain control. So from a governance, a financial and personnel control perspective, this is a way to make things better. And I think that it will improve the fiscal accountability of our schools. Additionally, when you have vacant school boards, it's incredibly cumbersome and costly for the Navajo Nation to conduct special elections. So if we have 66 schools on Navajo and we have to have these school board elections, we can have dozens of vacancies at a time. And that is a burden to the entire Navajo Nation. It's not a burden to the BIE or to other funding entities. It's something that is borne by the central government. The Navajo Nation's general funds budget a decade ago was much greater than it is today. We have substantially declining resources and money to spend on elections and other things of this nature. So with fewer required elections, we should be able to spend more money to, say, stand up Doty, to support other things within the government. So that's another example. If we have fewer positions, in theory, there will be fewer vacancies that will have to be taken care of. We really need to ask ourselves, what is the vision for Navajo Nation education? Is it to continue to compartmentalize and really diminish the educational system of the nation, where we have 66 different fiefdoms, or 31 if we're only looking at the contract and grant side? Or is it to have a unified vision where we're actually taking more control of our educational destiny? And that is what I think this is the first step of, and what I ask you to consider. What is maintaining the status quo going to do when we have the fewest number of Navajo language speakers, the fewest number of culturally competent Diné students, and I think the worst educational attainment in recent history? How is this system, by maintaining the status quo, going to improve that? And how is fighting back against better resourcing the schools and Doty and thinking through shared resources going to change that? My vision, and I think some other delegates may share this, but I don't speak on their behalf, is that if we can consolidate the boards, if we have a Diné language or culture teacher who, say, works at Black Mesa and Rough Rock is having difficulty hiring someone, they're going to be under the same board, and they could help move resources or teachers between schools to make sure that they can fill in the gaps when there are gaps, or to conceptualize a more efficient way of dispensing resources so we get better outcomes in the classroom for our children. And that applies not just to what happens in the classroom, but to the administrative functions on the top. We have a massive duplication of services across all of these schools. We know that through combining some of the positions, whether it's finance or accounting, et cetera, that you can spend more money and get the same or better outcomes. And that's money that can then be reprogrammed into the classroom. So please, imagine that for a moment. A more efficient system, better resourced, and better quality outcomes in the classroom. This isn't even touching the stipends, the meetings in Vegas, the meetings in Albuquerque, the meetings in Flagstaff and Phoenix. If you serve on a public school board, you meet at the school, I'm talking about through the state system, and you volunteer your time. A lot of the people who have been expressing their comments recently have a vested financial interest in maintaining the status quo. That is, they or their family members receive compensation for performing this duty. And I'm not saying that's right one way or the other, but that is something that should be acknowledged at the top. We need to combat nepotism. We need to combat embezzlement. We need to consolidate so that there's more checks and balances, so individuals are accountable to multiple constituencies, have to hustle, work harder, and be better at their jobs. That they should come in with ideas and a knowledge base instead of having to receive constant trainings to learn what their positions are supposed to do. I think there's a lot of hard workers who have put in so much to build up these schools, to fix messes that they inherited from other people. But this is an effort to diminish the likelihood of those messes happening in the first place, and to see a longer-term goal where we implement the Diné School Accountability Plan, where we 638 the Navajo area BIE functions, so that our people are actually directly in control of the future of our children's education. That the president, that the council, that the Board of Education will all be driving that ship with the local school boards. Not that a school board or an individual has to go back, or an individual administrator has to go back to DOTI, has to go back to BIE to ask for something, to contemplate change. Instead, the Navajo Nation government working with the school boards can say, DOTI, you have to come with a plan to do this. Schools, you have to come with a plan to do this. You have a year to do it, you have 2 years to do it, and you're going to phase it in over the next 5 years. Whatever the plan is, whatever the initiative is. Instead of having to go back to BIE, go back to 66 different school advisory boards, we will make things more efficient. We'll be able to share the successes if we have a good job in Navajo language instruction taking on here based off of a certain model. If we're performing farming experiential education here, we can share that across the school board and see those resources be deployed to other schools. Right now, there isn't the incentive to do that. It's competition for teachers, it's competition for students, it's competition for resources. And maybe down the line in my district or some of these other districts where we have a lot of schools, we could have multiple elementary schools, a few middle schools, a couple high schools, instead of duplicating the resources across multiple schools within the community. I understand the desire for local control, and I respect it immensely, because to be quite frank, the Central Navajo government has goofed up a lot over the past 100 years of its existence. But it's because there are very few instances of a people coming together around vision and trying to actualize that vision. Let's have a vision for our children's education that isn't just cementing the status quo and blaming everybody else except for the boards that are governing the schools. I deeply respect those who enter into leadership positions and want to serve their kids and build up our nation. But when our committee approached the school boards back in February, it was late January and February of 2020, and then solicited input continuously through our committee meetings in the late winter and early spring of 2020. We wanted to know, hey, this plan that has been the status quo for years and years and years, it's not producing better outcomes for our kids, and in many instances is producing worse outcomes for our kids. And the nepotism, embezzlement, and other issues persist through this system. What can we do to make things better? Work with us, meet us halfway. Instead, what we were met with was a lawsuit and slander. And essentially, the plan that was adopted was verified by the courts, and there's an active disinformation campaign to discredit anything related to educational reform right now from certain entities. So I ask everyone here, have your own independent vision, have your own analyses, and be candid when you have a financial interest in this system. Don't use our children as political props. don't use our elders as political props, and meet this committee halfway. We're still accepting comments, and we'll be doing so at least through September 30th, I believe. And I think it would be good for us to get out and get into the communities again. Right now it's budget season, so it's very difficult to schedule a lot of competing meetings right now. And there is a Health Education Human Services meeting, but I want to be here for Central Agency because I had to be on the meeting earlier today and wasn't able to make it to the in-person one. So that's some of my personal vision, and it's shared when I go to my chapters and explain the process we've done. We don't, unfortunately, have our school boards coming back and reporting the educational achievement or really anything with respect to the operations of their schools at any of the meetings unless it comes up for reauthorization. And that's verified in the minutes. So the people who do come back, they say, yeah, I want change. When so-and-so gets elected, my family members get kicked out of the school, and someone with a high school, maybe even a high school diploma takes over instead of, my relative who had a master's and such. Those are real things that I hear at the community level, and I try to be accountable to those people who want to see change and they want to see vision. But I'm here to listen, so yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, Delegate Slater. I appreciate that. I will now go on to the agenda, which is number 4, the public hearing guidelines. There are 2 different sessions. There's an in-person session that's held during the day from 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock at the following locations. Tomorrow, August 25th, will be at Shiprock Chapter. August 26th will be at Crown Point NTU. And August 27th will be at Fort Defiance Chapter. We will be holding the public hearing Zoom conference every afternoon, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock. And we will also be having the guidelines to show that the individuals who are speaking, please state your name, your organization that you represent, if it's applicable for the record, state your reason or your comment. You will have 3 to 5 minutes to comment or provide your recommendations. If you choose to, you can also do a written comment and submit those written comments to the Health, Education, and Human Services Committee. Attention, School Board Apportionment, P.O. Box 670, Winter Rock, Arizona, 86515. And you can fax it as well to 928-871-7474. You can also email your comments or your recommendations to schoolboard@navajo-nsn.gov. Please, no derogatory comments, as all comments are considered public record. If you would like to make a comment or have a recommendation, then please raise your hand and you will be acknowledged and you will be given 3 to 5 minutes. Please mute your phones in respect to the presenters that are giving their recommendations. Do I have a first individual that has a comment or a recommendation? Do I have an individual that would like to provide a comment or a recommendation?
Hello, this is Jordan at City.
Hello, Jordan. You have 3 to 5 minutes, and please speak up a little bit because you are muffled.
Okay, let me know if you can hear me clear and if
Yes.
anything comes off. My name is Jordan at City. I work with the Naval School Board Association. We're located here in Winter Rock, Arizona, and our organization works with Navajo Nation school boards. So the position that that I'm providing is based on the information that school board members and administrators, also community members, parents have provided us here at the office. And so out of the 64 recognized or 67 recognized schools, I am making this public comment. So according to the election administrator or the election code, and also based on the school board reapportionment. I first want to say that this is an election issue. It was pointed out about student academic achievement and processes of moving forward with education. So our plan, our concern, and our position is that how is this Plan 6 going to be implemented into the Navajo Nation system? Earlier, it was reported and a little summary was given on why this reapportionment plan was selected. As far as the representation, each school board member, each chapter official, any elected official represents their constituents. And so in a way, this representation is going to be diluted into this plan. If you notice, if people on this call notice, there is 6 chapters who are not in this plan. So what does that mean for those chapters? There's one, Burnham, Copper Mine, Indian Wells, Rock Springs, Sawmill, and Sheep Springs. So in a way, these chapters are not represented. And earlier it was talked about local control and how school board members are, I guess the slander portion. Before, former BIE director abused his powers at that level. Local community control would put a border from there, so local community members know of the nepotism portion. Student achievement was brought. Earlier in this year, our organization provided to the HES committee and also to the Board of Education to push assessment waivers. That hasn't been looked at. As far as community representation, going to the community level, parents, students, how are they going to raise their concerns at that level? This reapportionment it's spread out. Navajo Nation is really unique and it's really spread out. So are you telling parents that they would have to drive 50, 100 plus miles just to attend a school board meeting to raise their concerns? So as far as the financial accountability of school board members, as most of the educational leaders should know, is that there's 1% that is given through the ISIP. This money is used for training. This money is used for how the board wishes. And normally Las Vegas is the cheapest place when you look at the numbers. Our organization stays local. But what the Navajo Nation gave authority to the school board is for them to handle their own funds. As far as the accountability portion for school administration and staff, you're just going to give this power to administration and staff. And I'm not saying all administration and staff would how would I say it, would make this system corrupt, but it'll open that door because there's no direct supervision, local supervision. As far as the vacant school board positions, these positions, after review of all these vacant positions, these school board positions are vacant because they're at-large positions, and normally chapters do not work with each other. Let's say, for example, if you were to take on if you take on this case, the Touchy, Whippoorwill, Teshlane, they're going to be given one chapter official or one school board member. The chances of them trying to select a school board member is going to be hard. So if this is a vacant position, it's going to be hard to fill that position. Use what is in Title 10 as far as giving chapters the authority of selecting their own people. So that's why there's vacant positions within the system. If you go by Title 10, there's 67 schools, and or Title 11, if you go by it, there's 67 schools. So at minimum, there should be 201.
Excuse me,
school
Mr.
board
City,
members. Thank you.
time. If you could please wrap it up.
That is all. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other individuals that would like to provide a comment or a recommendation?
Good afternoon. My name is Lucinda Campbell. I would like to provide a public comment.
Hello, Ms. Campbell.
I was at the face-to-face earlier in the day, but due to the limited space, I went ahead and exited after my public comment. So, Yat A. Shay Lucinda Campbell, Chishin Nishlink, Kintlachitni Bashishchin, Tsaili Donna Shah. I am a full-time mother and grandmother, and a part-time elected official representing the Tsaili Wheatfields chapter on the Lukachikai Community Board of Ed. I am in my first term, and I find complete satisfaction in supporting and witnessing the school improvement that is becoming evident within our tribally controlled schools on the Navajo Nation. Not only do I respectfully oppose Plan 6, but our local school board in May of 2020 also approved a resolution of opposition to Plan 6. As a system, the Navajo Nation is still young. I ask that we not make the same mistakes that bigger governments or districts make by overlooking some of the groundwork of those before us. It was not that long ago that groups such as DBOSBA, DGSA, and NAGS conscientiously implemented relevant trainings to the Navajo community members who became board members. The ideas behind the tribally controlled schools was that the everyday Dene citizen could actually become a leader in their communities and school systems. I believe that's an idea that first and foremost is what is communicated to our Navajo students whose relations have or had become Natanis. That confidence and community concern can actually be passed on through our different relations, as those of us who have relatives who have put themselves in positions to serve the public, as well as the public scrutiny. We too have chosen to do the same. It's only been less than 100 years of education milestones that have been accomplished. Groundwork has already been laid to actually produce board members and true everyday Dene community members to participate in these local systems. Also within our communities, growing trust and self-discipline, characteristics that lead to being able to go to school and then choose to go to college and make the grades necessary to graduate. These are learning sequences that are necessary for consistent and harmonious competence and cultural awareness among our future citizens. Please do not tear down what is already in process of establishing a quality education system for our Navajo Nation. I think someone should weigh what the financial viability of this action is in relation to the time and production of all the new young leaders in our Navajo Nation today who come to us from rural res schools. I acknowledge that many challenges currently continue to exist within our school systems. Yes, there is nepotism, audit findings, rule and ethic concerns, but that also exists in all branches of our government, Navajo and United States alike. Only continued participation will heal and promote correction. Non-participation is what is commonly referred to as big government leading the way, usually their way. That moves in the opposite direction. I hope that even though this is considered the status quo, it is what makes sense to the local communities of our Navajo Nation and encourages Dene citizen participation at a very relevant level. Yes, there are dollars set aside for such participation, and I believe that the aforementioned organizations are working in real time to provide these trainings. Is it happening all at once? No, but I believe in the cycles of history, and I believe that in that relation, the growth is adequate. inadequate. Currently, it is not up to national standards, but I believe in the future of my local community to be smarter than me in all aspects, and that they will continue to believe in our future of local empowerment and continue to always consider the betterment of our Lukachukai students. I know each chapter and community respectfully believe this. I do believe that changes need to occur within the education system, but I think it needs to be recognized that in comparable systems, there are many tax brackets that exist. On the Navajo Nation, there's only one tax bracket, 0. So thank you, and I will appreciate the time that you have given us to express ourselves.
Thank you, Ms. Campbell. Is there anyone else that would like to provide a comment or recommendation at this time?
Yes. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Can you please state your name and the organization you represent? And you have 3 to 5 minutes, ma'am.
My name is Carolyn Ben, and I represent Black Mesa Community School, Untitled Chapter, Eugene region. And I just want to say that I'm not sure who's putting the meeting on, but the Plan 6 that people are talking about is what I don't like. And I recommend, as a parent, a grandma, and a Nali, and a school board member, I like to recommend to everybody that we go back to the original school board. Auto Plan 6 one school board is going to take care of, I don't know how many schools, like maybe 5 or 6. And how is that going to work for personnel, students, consultants, and everything that has to do with school? Or that's it will cut the net of the existing that's in some test case. A cook at school board at a hagit, in the genre A and the Hawana Mazin Jarada. Actually, as you in your district A, the Hohani, Toba Banjarada Ban City case. Khaled Alan Juno Chineta, who does ask Nazin Ban City case the lake. Aro Hajanike, Hashit Ashan, Aro Ahadis and the oil deed, Aro deed, Ado Lichinito Lake, A Kagi Ada Shipik Ada. A couple of Kojanle, I got it, I was Bahazan, like Black Mesa Community School, Shahazaniki, it I was. I don't know, Jona the Bill was a China at the Otahos, Shah China, the Naaj art at the Ostka. My daughter, my two, and my Nalis are all going to school over there, and that's where I am a board member at. Sajiko Eliago, and they had she heart rock with us, Hagi, Asia hit on, Bahashnet, or let her hit up on test case the Dosh, 1,000 that are late. Our board member, Basalion, and some other schools that are listed under that, under the central region. The Yashko, the Akoko, store. I want to a young which has said or little na, but she's not that does she get or Tommy here. I want to a young has said or
Thank you, Mrs. Ben. Is there anyone else that would like to provide a comment or a recommendation at this time?
Well, this is Byron Wesley.
Hello, Mr. Wesley. You have 3 to 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Just wanted to say I agree with those 2 individuals that were ahead of me, especially the one up in Black Mesa. I still also feel that we need to stay within our local, we talk about local governance, but then we're separating everybody. So I'm the vice president school board for Rocky Ridge School. And so the last voting session, I went in and found that, these were the voting areas, the different areas that were selected. And for me to be on there, I just wanted to be on there to represent my local school. It's a small school, but it needs big representation. And so we've lost our members there, board members. And the reason why is the election office is not able to swear in anybody right at the time. So we're just not putting anybody back in there right now. But nonetheless, I think local representation is the way it is right now. I appreciate it if you could keep it that way. And like that the lady was saying earlier from Black Mesa, that way it's more personal. I mean, I personalize that school. That's where I went to school. That's where I left from there, went to college and came back. And so for me to be representing Black Mesa is not, or I think the other one was like Rough Rock or somewhere out there. And not knowing the people there would be kind of difficult to, I guess, personalize it. I think it's more being elected to the community of your own is more effective. So I recommend that we keep it the way it is and not bother with the Plan 6. So I oppose the Plan 6.
Thank
That's
you,
all
Mr. Wesley.
You're welcome. Thanks.
Is there anyone else that would like to provide a comment or recommendation at this time?
Oh, yeah, okay. My name's Gerard Ben, and I'm from Pinyon.
I'm sorry, sir. Can you restate your name?
Gerard
Gerard?
Ben.
Okay.
And,
Thank you, sir. You have 3 to 5 minutes.
Okay. That's never flash up in the car.
The detail.
Black Mesa Community School. Eben nachiko hashil sagoshi ashil hata lab bayat thioda ada anj thaton seho ko dikat titi Plan 6 to change the litany baya shoda sha askida has three da hazne شاي خدنا شيء عشان نتصل بعد هذا ده شيء دي بشهرني مناكيد او عادس الكيكات ايش دي خلان ايش بعد هذا اخي خديني ما يخديني ما اذا صدا لا يسمع يا لان جنبه الغصه الغصه شاكم اخوت شيء شديد كشافني بيشدوا لشابيني ايش انا هندي هندم دي مش بعد هذا اللي هذا كوز adults الناس كل خلاص جيز أخذ this Plan 6 هت أنا هذين هت كدون الأم إبن ديك هندي هت هجيت هندي أخذ هذني there's nothing wrong with it هذا خجوا كتلان سوش أخيت أجود لازم جن instead of should be questioning could you hit on this but hit at the go could the Plan 6 will hear me to this could but didn't have changed so the go out the husband of this she the go what ega khoto hawata han nahat ado let na tinas dagi ado hata hazla ebna handi hot ado hata hajo kitndasnis hajo se instead of las gada this to ya shoda and I have just keep it the same, just the way it is. Adult, she had a bunch of kids. Adult, the coalition, and what Shilla, she has me, shit, I saw the air, I let only and it's not going to help any our kids. It won't help. So, plan 6 all these other different plans. I don't like it.
Thank you, Mr. Ben.
Yeah.
Is there anyone else who would like to provide a comment or recommendation at this time?
Hello. My name is Nikki Archie. I'm at Black Mesa Community School. I would like the current school board to run my school.
Oh dear, I believe we lost her. Is there anyone else who would like to provide a comment or recommendation at this time? I'm sure they'll be calling back in.
Hello. My name is. Hello.
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes, please state your name.
My name is Nikki Archie. I'm
Thank you.
at Black Mesa Community School. I would like the current school board to run my school because I know my school board and they know me. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to provide a comment or recommendation at this time? We have a Miss Kenzel or a Mr. Kenzel who is raising their hand. If you like to
That's me.
proceed.
Yes.
Okay.
So my name is Bahajon Kinsel. I am a registered voter here in the Kaibito, Arizona community. I'm also the school board member for Kaibito Boarding School. Actually, I'm the president for Kaibito Boarding School Board. I'm also a parent, and I am a substitute teacher within the area. I did comment yesterday, but I'm feeling a lot better today, and my thoughts are collected now. The one thing that I wanted to comment on was for Plan 6 yesterday with the closing remarks of Honorable Slater and the opening remarks as well today. A lot of the things that I heard was about money, embezzlement from school boards. And, you know, I think that school boards are given so little authority. And in order for us to operate and to ensure that we are receiving the help that we're needing within our schools, we have people that oversee us. We have DeBosba, we have Doty, and we have the BIE if we're BIE schools. And you know, a lot of that is our decisions are taken away. You know, we can put our input, but it's so minimal. And when you step back and look at this, when we want to make change, you know, it's really not considered. And a lot of the time when we want to make change, like our school is a BIE, for example, it's shot down. And we try to seek support from either Doty or, you know, we try to work with the BIE, but it never happens, right? For example, now I'm going to go into parent mode. I have a school right here at Kaibito Boarding School right behind me. I have 4 children. I have 4 children that I could enroll into this school right here and use it. But knowing that I have called to my school and try to talk to my principals, we haven't even had a principal for the past 3-4 years now, you know, because BIE keeps trying to hire, somebody doesn't want to come out, tries to hire again. You know, that inconsistency isn't there. And me as a school board member, we do place recommendations, but they're not taken into consideration. So as a parent, I don't want to put my kids in that school again. So then what do? I put my kid in the local school for Page Unified School District. And it's not a reservation school, but that's where all of our students are going. Because one, the issue here is not school boards. The issue here is that accountability. The thing that Slater spoke about was accountability. DOTI and BIE are not being held accountable. And that is where the issue lies. And that's where we need support from HESI. The other thing is if this apportionment plan goes into place, parents are going to have to travel to these board meetings. You know, you can do what we're doing right now, teleconference and whatnot. But, you know, there's a lot of elderly. There's people out here. We barely got internet on the reservation just because of this pandemic. There's students still struggling that we still don't have. We still don't have internet and even water within all our homes. These are things that should be being tackled right now instead of trying to create a different plan for school boards. The school boards are not the issue. We are overseen by other people, and this is where the issues lie. And those are the parts that need to be tackled. You want to talk about accountability? You need HESI committee. You guys need to hold the DOTI, BIE, all accountable. There should be some meetings going on or something, because we can barely get into our schools to speak to our principals or get beyond these doors. We're closed out, we're shut out, or we can't even use our local schools just to go play basketball. You know, our students, it used to be open to our communities, but we're shut out now all over the reservation. Those are the things that need to be tackled and talked about, not trying to create a whole reapportionment plan to make it harder for us to have our voices heard. That's all I have to say. Thank you for the floor.
Thank you, Ms. Kenzel. Is there anyone else who would like to provide a comment or a recommendation at this time?
This is Tristan Black.
Hello, Mr. Black. You have 3 to 5 minutes.
Okay. Well, Tristan Black and I'm currently a student in a graduate program. And I wanted to share with you all that I went to school at Navajo Preparatory School, and I was elected by my peers at the student body to serve as a student body president. And from there, I was also able to serve on the Navajo Prep School Board as an ad hoc member. So I guess a recommendation I would offer is having student leaders be involved in some of the meetings. You know, this could be a student body president, a student council representative, or even a student that is appointed by the peers themselves. So my peers voiced a lot of concerns and gave suggestions that I reported back. I was
I'm sorry, Mr. Black, but you're cutting in and out. Can you repeat yourself, please?
Yes, my peers, they voiced a lot of their concerns in their suggestions that school board.
Oh dear, I believe his call dropped. Thank you, Mr. Black, and I hope you do call back in. Is there anyone else who would like to provide a comment or recommendation at this time?
Any comment?
Yes, sir. Can you please state your name and your organization or your chapter that you're representing?
Yes, good afternoon. My name is Vincent Vicente. I'm one of the school board members for the Lukuchika Community School. What I'd like to make a comment is I like a school board to get changed to the nation. I want one representative from each school I need it. To me, I don't think it's going to work. I think the way it is, it'll be fine. But the only thing is, Kuroban, this case, I've been on the board for 2004, you know, a school board. So then, I really observe it's all, I think, a school board, a disaster zone, you got to have some kind of good qualification to be in education. Yeah, a lot of these school board members, a qualification though, the husband. So when it comes to they talk about something, they get lost. So those like the husband, the education that's been said, I think in order to be on the school board, he's got to have a good, at least he got a college degree. So a good businessman manners. The education, you know, I think that's what's needed. I know school board needs, you should job description, that then. You get job description, who knows something's on. I know every year evaluate intensity, you know, where we need it to be improved. I thought what I should order about this case, but I would end the date. I let's have a local school board member who knows or they should wait a fine. That's good enough to fight. What about this case? Thank you very much. So, sir, quit my speaking.
Hello? Thank you, Mr. Black. Is there anyone else who would like to provide a comment or a recommendation at this time? Is there anyone else that would like to provide a comment or recommendation at this time?
Hi, this is Tristan Black. I keep getting cut out. Can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Black. You have 3 to 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you. I believe where I left off was, you know, my peers, a lot of their concerns and their suggestions, I was able to report that to the school board. And so having a ad hoc student representative to sit on the school board would be a great way for the student to build leadership, you know, growth and an opportunity to advocate for their peers at a young age. You know, I've seen a lot of student leaders coming out of this, serving as a student representative. It gave them a lot of positive outcomes after sitting on the board, helping out their community, being involved. You know, they grew as young leaders and it gave them a platform to be involved and valued just serving on that school board. You know, Yego, Inishka, Oho ben nasi shah do les ado oho ben be ne ses yego azista do les it ishana aholzen do les. Those are some of the core teachings I liked and learned when I served on that school board at Navajo Prep, you know, serving as a representative. So I just wanted to thank you for allowing us this time. And, you know, whatever outcome it will be able to help our future generations within the net education system. So, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Black. Is there anyone else who would like to provide a comment or recommendation at this time? Is there anyone else who would like to provide a comment or recommendation at this time?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. Can you please
Hi,
state your name?
my name is J.R. Nance. I am from Rough Rock.
Hello,
And,
Mr. Nance. You have 5
yes.
minutes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for giving me the time. Yate, shike aro, tais not agido. My name is J.R. Nance. I'm a she. Do yo ba chin touching chido snatching chanale that. I'm currently a board member for Mini Farms Community School, and also I'm originally from Rough Rock, Arizona. Okoko, they did reapportionment plan, Plan 6 at Ningi to 8. That's the topic, and we're all gathered here to make our comments and also to make some suggestions and recommendations. So, local control. Last night, our Honorable Council Delegate Slater said that don't use local control. But 197 schools that has local control on there. A local community, a school control. And the laws. People are concerned about that. Local controls, they're going to lose that at these schools. I'm kind of concerned about the smaller schools. For instance, Rough Rock. Rough Rock is a small school, but to be honest with you, Rough Rock was the first school of the nation to become a local control school. That's why Rough Rock was called Rough Rock Demonstration School. And once they've demonstrated that, what 10297 was, then became Rough Rock Community School. That's where these famous people like Robert Russell, they were the one that established the school. How that the community can control its own school. And then they pass it on to other schools across the Navajo Nation and across the country. So, the reapportionment plan, as I was listening to it, at large, Rough Rock, at large, which is Rough Rock and Mini Farms. So therefore, the Mini Farms is a much bigger community and more enrolled voters. So most likely, at large, it's going to go to Mini Farms. Rough Rock Community School is not going to have a representation. So that's where my concern is at. The Rough Rock Community School is not going to have a voice, at these boards. And I don't think community members are much aware of these things that is going on right now. What we're proposing here. Accountability. I think it's mainly. I don't think really it's a school board. Leadership, and then it comes down from up the tribal council. I don't this HESI committee. I don't the all the way down to the school principal leadership. No, they all need to be accountable as far as improving school and the students or that all everyone has to be accountable for it. I guess it all depends what school you represent and the policies. And the thing is that you have to understand the policy of the school. The favoritism, the nepotism, at our school, board member, we don't pick employees. Hired the school administrator has their own interview panel, and whoever they select based on their qualification, don't need to recommend a board. We have to go by what is recommended by the administrators. So that's the policy of the school. So the recommendation that Ningito, I'm pretty sure there are other recommendations that could be done. Somebody from Lukachuke, other recommend lagi qualification and get that's one of the things that we might be that we may have to look to. Nana, the board members too, no less than 3, Nido, no more than 7. I think that should go based on the number of enrollment also. Maybe lower the membership. So Eddie, I just want to bring these up here. So thank you for the time. Again, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nez. Is there anyone else who would like to provide a comment or recommendation at this time?
Yate.
Yate,
Oh,
please
Yate.
state your name and then your organization or your chapter that you're representing. You have 3 to 5 minutes, sir.
Say, Perry Gay. Yeah. Oh, churches Ade school board Casetta. Called the had I see that and 100% of those that have spoken respectfully oppose Plan 6. And I too will respectfully oppose it. You know, the school that I represent, when it was Rough Rock Demonstration School, then became a community school. He's from the community of Rough Rock. First local control school, no Yahati, and the history of it, you know, it's built on prayers and plans of Nahastui Ad Yatsoda Bilzino. What cotton days la Ado a demonstrated ya even Nash Ado grant school has local contract grant schools. And it was planted on the net philosophy in the same in like the same as how Navajo Community College was came into existence. Ado that's in direct comparison to what Ms. Campbell from Lukachuke board member, big government. It's one and the same. So and Honorable Slater mentioned that funding embezzlement, nepotism. You know, sometimes in most cases, you know, these things have originated from prior administrations or boards, and you know, current boards, you know, they've inherited these, and they are all fixing it. And it was mentioned higher government. You know, oftentimes when we attend meetings with the Department of Education sponsored meetings, they always report, well, BIE is not working with us. We can't access BIE's files so we can correlate and use one thing. Up higher, BIE, ODI, they need to start working together first. You know, as I mentioned, oftentimes Department of Education will always say, well, we can't access BIE's files, you know, for instance, like NACIS or different reporting requirements that BIE has, and then a different sort of reporting requirements for DOTI. You know, oftentimes 95% of the times, the information are both to BIE and DOTI the same thing. And, you know, reauthorization, DOTI wants their own template, BIE wants their own templates. You know, the government there needs to work together to smooth out the whole process of all the schools, the contract schools, all 66 schools. So in closing, I too respectfully oppose Plan 6 for my community, my school to stay local control. Oh, thank you for the time. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Begay. Is there anyone else who would like to provide a comment or a recommendation at this time? Is there anyone else who would like to provide a comment or recommendation at this time?
Hello, this is Marie Rose from Black Mesa Community School.
Marie Rose,
Yes.
you have 5 minutes. Thank you.
Oyate. I also respectfully oppose Plan 6 due to the fact that previously all the speakers have mentioned that some of the schools will have no more voice once the Plan 6 is activated, if it does pass, because Black Mesa Community School will have no voice because we'll be competing with the bigger schools that have a larger population, and Black Mesa Community School community is very small. And right now, at least we have two board members representing our school from Black Mesa chapter. But in this instance, if the 6 passes, we will have no more voice. Just our school from Black Mesa chapter. But in this instance, if the hello, it's talking back to me. Is it okay?
Hello, Miss Rose?
Oh, yeah, I was talking and then I heard myself talking back to me. That's why I stopped.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah. And anyway, so I understand that, you know, there are concerns from Mr. Slater saying that there's funding issues, investment issues, and nepotism, but that also happens, just like Lucinda Campbell said, that it does happen all over everywhere. And it doesn't mean that it can't be fixed. It can be fixed if we can work together to fix all the problems that the school runs into all the time. And just because we increase the number of schools, decreasing the number of board members and increased number of schools that they're going to represent doesn't mean it's going to get better in the academics or any other areas of the school. The numbers of board members is really an election issue. It has nothing to do with academics. Just because you change the number of board members or change the number of how many we can control doesn't mean that we're going to do better automatically. There has to be a plan in place in order for us to do better in schools. And we all need to sit down together and work on that plan. And in the meantime, we're only talking about election issue and how to divide the schools, divide the board so that we be able to manipulate how many board members can represent, how many board can sit on as a school board member. But it has nothing to do with academics. We're just talking about the number of board members for the schools and each schools, and we're combining too many schools to be represented by one board. Too many schools being represented by one board, meaning that, you know, how's the hiring going to happen? Who's going to control the funds, and how's the funding going to come down the tubes from the BIA, from the federal to the BIA? Funding issues are also going to play a major role in how we run the school, and how are we going to enroll kids? Because I know right now the Head Start also enrolls students from Window Rock, and so how is the board going to be hiring all school employees from Chinle area if Black Mesa, if the number 6 passes? How are we going to hire everyone? Is there going to be one administration sitting over, also overseeing all the schools? as we have right now, we have a principal in all the schools, but right now, if the Plan 6 passes, are we going to have one principal representing all 6 schools? Do we have one business manager for all 6 schools, one human resource personnel? How is it going to be done? Because we don't have all that information in order to say, okay, let's combine all these schools. And how, I mean, it becomes really difficult. And then we also know that the funding comes from the federal government, knowing that we have a contract with the government that says that we'll have a board. The board and the government going to have a contract. So that's how we receive our funding. And if there's only going to be one board, there's only going to be one funding, thereby there's going to be a decrease or a loss of a lot of money just because we only have one board. There's only going to be one agreement. And that makes it really difficult on all the schools, and how, that's why I'm asking, like, how's the administration going to be funded? And anyways, I do oppose Plan 6 at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rose. Is there anyone else who would like to provide a comment or recommendation at this time?
Yakas, and I would like to make a comment.
Thank you, Ms. Rose. Hello, sir. Please state your name. Hold on first. If you're not going to be making a comment or recommendation, please mute your phones. Okay, sir,
my name is,
you have 5 minutes. Please state your name, the organization or your chapter that you're representing. Thank you.
I'm calling from Red Valley, Arizona. I'm vice president for the Red Valley chapter. I was listening in to all the comments and also yesterday.
I'm
my
sorry, sir. Can you
recommendation.
please state your name?
Eugene Zoni, I'm sorry. I represent Red Valley chapter. I'm the vice president. She touching in Slingo Skanto Bazichin, Alokilchin, that's Cheda Belgana, Nalado, Aloko. I know that Plan 6 is been atop it all this week, and I've been listening in. My recommendation would be to just do away with Plan 6. Just like everybody else is saying that you guys talk about all these issues and problems, like what's going on within the nation. There's nepotism going on everywhere. It's just not with the schools. It's also with our tribe council, also with our chapters, and also within the government administration in Window Rock. That's going on anywhere you go. So I don't think that can be resolved as long as everybody comes together. And Ani Sunant Island Lenido, Arashi school board and Leni, they have inputs. They have concerns for their school, and I have a concern for my school and Red Rock Day School. I know the school boards are doing what they can, and I think that Plan 6 should die out, and that we should continue the same way and let our local people get in there up in the school, you done that training ado, those staff and let them plan at the local school, the local community. If Plan 6 goes through, then we won't have no voice. We're not going to have our input. And I don't know where this is going. I like the way the gentleman put it to where there was about the coyote story. And I think that's true. So I oppose the Plan 6, and I would like everybody to hear, especially the organization that's putting up this these meetings and public meetings, that you need to listen to the people. And if you're not going to listen to these people that are speaking out, then you're overdoing your boundary and not listening to the people. You need to listen to them, because I understand that you also, other things that happen. So this Plan 6 needs to die out, and you need to listen to the people and make sure that you abide by the policy and the procedure as you listen to the comments and the remarks that people are making. So that's all I have to say. Thank you, and have a good day.
Thank you, sir. You have a good day as well. Is there anyone else who would like to provide a comment or recommendation at this time?
Hello?
Hello, please state your name and then the chapter or the organization that you're representing. You have 5 minutes.
Hello, my name is Nicole Ben, and I'm a parent at Black Mesa Community School. I oppose Plan 6. I don't think it's a school board issue. I feel that it's a DOTY issue. The accountability of the student learning is DOTY's job. They provide technical assistance, which they don't provide to schools. All they look for is negative issues against school boards. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ben. Is there anyone else who would like to provide a comment or recommendation at this time? Yes, I have a person raising their hand. Miss Eleanor Smith, you have the floor. You have 5 minutes.
Yeah, Arnold. She Eleanor Smith Yanishia. Is not Bastan. Not open at Hatchin, Schlakia, Annie Bashin. Chife, that's a chedo, a she hate, that's another is son. I'd like to provide my comments in opposition to Plan 6. I had been with the BIE for a total of about 17 years in different positions, different locations. And I know that this reapportionment plan happens, reapportionment usually happens every so many years. And this has been talked about over the years. And I know that consolidation is something of school boards, is something that the BIE has been pushing in an effort to save some funds. I know yesterday Delegate Slater was stating that what's in the best interest of the students. Well, I think that in the best interest of the students would be not to go through with this reapportionment Plan 6. I think in the best interest of students, school boards still need to be localized at the local level. Reason is decisions need to be made on a regular basis. School board meetings are used to hire. They're used for hiring and also for budgets to, approve different various important documents that have deadlines, applying for funding, things like that, especially for the grant schools. And if they're in construction, they need to be meeting regularly with their school boards. Meeting with a agency school board, I can just see all kinds of delays, and it just will not work. Schools need to have school boards approve things for them on a timely basis, and that will add to their efficiency and effectiveness as schools, and ultimately that's best for the students. I know that school boards have a separate budget, so cost savings is really, not a good argument, because school boards receive their own separate funding. Schools receive a separate amount of money for school board operations, stipends and travel and things like that. That doesn't affect the regular ISEP funding that the schools receive. But it is based off of a percentage of that, but it's only up to a certain maximum amount. So really, it doesn't take away from the school the student monies that the schools receive. Being a business manager, I know that, I've worked with school budgets a lot of those years. So those are the reasons why I think it's best to just not go with this plan and to continue to support local school board control. They need to be making decisions on behalf of the school, what's in the best interest of the students. And those are my comments.
Thank you, Mrs. Smith. We are down to the last 13 minutes of the agenda, the virtual Zoom meeting. I'd like to turn over the floor to any of the delegates who might have a comment. Is there any delegates that would like to comment or speak?
Michelle, Ms. Cook, this is Delegate
Yes.
Slater. If there are no other delegates, I would make a comment at the end.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I just want to express my sincere appreciation to all of the constructive feedback that was provided today. And I think some really good points were raised, particularly with the issue between the efficiency of having a board meeting, that is the number of board members, and then making sure there's adequate representation from all communities. And what I'm hearing is that we want Doty out and just to stick with BIE and local control. So I'll present that idea to the committee and to the council and see what they're interested in. It sounds like we want to abolish Doty and just have the schools do everything themselves. And let's see what other leadership thinks about this. But let's remind ourselves that there are a lot of opinions out here, and not all of them are captured just in this feedback. There's a lot of communication that happens at the chapter level, and I encourage the school boards to come back to the chapter meetings in September and discuss this issue. I think a lot of these points will be more rounded out with more robust participation. So, sorry, I think I don't know what's going on my phone here. I just want to express my appreciation again, and I apologize I didn't introduce myself earlier. Coral Russell Slater. So I'm Carl Slater. I'm Kiani, born for the Jewish people, and I'm the vice chair of the Health, Education, Human Services Committee. And I think some of the feedback today, we've really been trying to solicit for over the past year plus. This doesn't have to be set in stone. I think there's ways to amend it to make it amicable to both parties, but the only feedback we're receiving, it seems like, is just do away with Plan 6. And these issues about coordination between Doty and BIE, a big part of it is that there's 66 different school boards to deal with, or advisory sort of boards. And if you think about that, if there's one issue that needs to be handled, or say there's 10 issues that needs to be handled for each one of those, that's 600 potential meetings that BIE and Doty have to figure out how to do across all of the boards. So if we need that responsiveness, I think consolidation is the answer. If you don't want the responsiveness and just want all the authority, then we need to remove the thought of them being responsive, so they just can't exist anymore. And I think that's the path that we're heading now at the direction of our school board leadership, is that we should not have a Doty. And if that's the case, then I think we need to have a referendum on the Navajo Nation on that matter, whether the Navajo Nation government should be involved in education, because in terms of making things better, there's no alternative vision that's being offered except for just get them out of the way. So I'm trying to work through the feedback, and for those of you who have a pen and paper, I'm going to give you my email address and my phone number right now. So the phone number is 928-247-0511. And the email address is carlslater@navajo-nsn.gov. So CARLSLATER@navajo-nsn.gov. Yeah, everyone.
Thank you, Delegate Slater. In closing, I like to thank all of the participants who attended this virtual meeting regarding the public hearing on the Navajo Nation School Apportionment Plan. If you were unable to provide an oral testimony, you're always welcome to submit your written comments to Health, Education, and Human Services Committee, Attention School Board Apportionment, P.O. Box 670, Winter Rock, Arizona, 86515. You're also welcome to fax that letter to 928-871-7474, or you can email it to schoolboard@navajo-nsn.gov. We will be continuing to have these meetings through the remainder of the week. Tomorrow, if you plan to attend in-person meetings held on August 25th, 26th, and 27th, the 25th will be at Shiprock Chapter from 9 to 12. August 26th in Crown Point at NTU, and August 27th at Fort Defiance Chapter. We will also be continuing with the public hearings via Zoom from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock. And the information is listed on the press releases under Office of the Speaker. Thank you for attending. Have a wonderful day.
Good afternoon, everybody. Correction on tomorrow's meeting. It will be at the Phil L. Thomas Performing Arts in Shiprock, State Route 504, as opposed to the Chapter House. Thank you.